Before man mastered the art of flying, all travel was over land or by water. As an island completely surrounded by water, the sea has always been and continues to be a vital link between St. Lucia and the wider world. Hi, I am Gina McPhee, and this is Port Calls. Welcome to another episode of Port Call, an inside look into one of the most important facets of our country's development, our ports, and the organization that manages them, SLASPA. On this episode, we will look at the Division of Maritime. The DMA is mandated to support the operations of local vessels and ensures the nation's maritime activities are conducted in accordance with national and international maritime safety and pollution prevention standards. But enough from me. Let's hear from the head of the Division of Maritime Affairs, Mr. Christopher Alexander.
In 2010, the Maritime Division was born. And that came out of the Shipping Act, St. Lucia Shipping Act, which is the mother shipping legislation for St. Lucia. So the Port Authority actually manages or houses the Maritime Division. However, the Maritime Division, we have our own specific role within SLASPA. And our main role is in terms of safety of shipping, security, and also marine pollution prevention. We are constantly trying to meet our international requirements or standards or obligations to ensure that St. Lucia has the same standard that other states would have. So, for example, if a ship comes to St. Lucia, they would follow the same law as if they went to a European country or a more developed country. So there is no difference in terms of standards. So the maritime sector right now in St. Lucia is to ensure that our boaters, for example, our seafarers, that they adhere to international standards. So what has SLASPA done? We have gone ahead right now. We've trained the boaters, for example, the boat masters. They would undergo training at 3 establishments. They would get certified, undergo a 6 weeks training, and then Maritime would re-examine them to ensure that the areas of that syllabus, that they actually went through it. So we have about almost like 600 boat masters or boat drivers right now in St. Lucia that have undergone that training. So when you, as a member of the public, you go on board those vessels, you are guaranteed, or you have a level of relaxation that those persons behind the wheel, that they are trained.
My name is Kasel Paul. My official designation is Maritime Clerk. However, I am now currently in an acting position, so I'm Maritime Assistant. Basically, I assist the director with all correspondences or mail, and in addition to that, I also help facilitate the registration of all vessels, the issuance of all boat masters, all crew, and boat engineers. Vessel registration, it's a very simple process. It's simply the process by which a vessel is tied into the country or gains nationality with St. Lucia, basically. So the process entails filling out certain applications and, of course, submitting supporting documents in order so that we may do the proper paperwork to have that vessel onto our registry. And we do that for both private and commercial vessels. It's actually in our law. It's the Shipping Act. That's the Master Act for St. Lucia waters. And actually all vessels within our local waters are supposed to be registered, and whether you choose to do that privately or commercially. So that's why it's actually, I would say, mandatory for your vessel to be registered. But obviously we don't have every single vessel registered, but we're working towards that. So we're actually building our registry.
The other area of importance to the maritime sector and SLASPA is in terms of pollution. Part of our mandate is to mitigate the risk as far as pollution from ships are concerned. So the maritime sector now is actively going out there to check on boats. We're now moving into ensure that the boats have holding tanks. And holding tanks are almost like a receptacle on board those boats where they can contain the waste from those vessels. So it's important that we protect the environment. We have our very pristine reefs. We have our sensitive areas. So we're now going ahead right now to re-examine those boats to ensure that those holding tanks work on those boats. And when they go by our beaches, they do not discharge waste in our waters, which can have health consequences.
Let's take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll look at border control. Welcome back to Port Calls. If you're just joining us, we're looking at the Maritime Affairs of St. Lucia. As we mentioned earlier, St. Lucia is surrounded by water. That means the sea was the first point of access and continues to be a widely used one. As manager of our ports, SASPA is also a custodian to our borders and territorial waters. Let's meet some of the people who work in tandem with the Maritime Department to manage our borders and ensure the safety of all St. Lucians.
The Port Police are primarily the enforcement arm of the Maritime Division. The Maritime Division really does not have a law enforcement arm on the water. They implement a lot of policy and rules of the road and a lot of laws, but they don't have a presence. So the Port Police, their role is to really be out on the water to help enforce some of what Maritime brings across, primarily as safety to the yachting sector, to the boating sector. There's a lot of activity on the water, especially during the peak cruise season, and it also affords an opportunity for a lot of persons to do a lot of things that are not considered to be safe. Sometimes in the quest for persons to really improve or increase their profits or their profit margin, you'll find boaters overloading the boats. You will find boaters going out there without the necessary safety gear, and in some instances, persons that are not trained and certified to operate vessels. So the Port Police will be out there to ensure that if you're certified to carry 10 passengers, you are not carrying more than what you're certified to carry. Or if your crew is out there taking a group of persons to Sufre, for example, that they are certified. A lot of it has to do with a lot of enforcement of safety, but the Port Police have the same powers of arrest on the water. As long as you are within St. Lucian water, within the port, you can be dealt with.
I am head of the Marine Department, and Marine Department is a subsection of seaport operations. So as chief pilot, I am responsible for the pilots, our signal stations, we're talking about Vigi Lighthouse, Mulashik Lighthouse. As chief pilot, I serve as harbour master to St. Lucia and Seaport's ports of entry within St. Lucia. And the harbour master's role would be to ensure that the navigational lights are all working, the navigational lights are working, and the markers are in place. The harbour master's role would also be to ensure that ships go alongside to their berth where they park in order to transact their business. That's the traditional role for Seaport Castries and Seaport Viewfort. We also supply information on the depths alongside at the berths. That's information that's important to the ships themselves. So when a ship is visiting for the first time, we let the ship agents know that this is a port that your vessel can enter if you meet our criteria for how deep the vessel can be inside the harbour itself. I am the point person between the users of the port and Maritime. Maritime would be the regulatory body. Their job is to ensure that St. Lucia is compliant with the regulations, the treaties that we have signed onto, and my job is to ensure that the information keeps going back to them on what the state of the operators and the operations are.
The port officers are therefore mainly two things. So we do both revenue collection and we enforce the SLASPA Act as per the Maritime Affairs Division and the Marine Division of SLASPA. It's one of what I consider the best roles at SLASPA, because you're not just making sure that every life at sea is safe. You're also being involved in the whole tourism industry, being involved in maritime, being involved in the aspects of the laws and how all that tie up into bringing revenue, generating revenue for your country, and seeing what that revenue also does for the port. So it helps us to evolve, right? It helps us to develop, and as you as a personal, as an individual, it helps you open your mind as to the different cultures, maritime cultures that exist both locally and foreign.
The port officer is SLASPA's representative in the Marigot Bay Marina area, and its principal functions are to be an extension of the SLASPA Act, which is the Act of 1983 establishing the port and giving specific powers to SLASPA to manage the seaborne traffic within this space called Marigot Bay. We have responsibilities from the safe maneuver of traffic, meaning the various yachts you see here, and also even our local traffic, which might be canoes, speedboats, pleasure craft, and so forth. Further to that, our responsibilities extend to issues like that of pollution, monitoring that of pollution, and also because we're in the Marigot Bay area, if you notice, the preservation of our precious mangrove resource. And the mangroves, as you know, are part of the wider ecosystem, and so our fishing areas and our fish catches depend highly on the fish spawning areas. So we're able to manage all of these through collaboration, not only with the operators of the marina, but also with our related agencies like customs and immigration.
We'll take a break now. When we come back, what does our seabed look like? Welcome back to Port Calls. Part of the mandate of the Maritime Division is ensuring the safety of vessels plying our waters. Our territorial waters include the waters we see and everything beneath it, all the way to the seabed. So what does our seabed look like? St. Lucia is currently undergoing a hydrographic survey to map out our waters. Let us take a dive in and see what this is all about.
A group of us from the United Kingdom Hydrographic Office are here to conduct surveys of the waters off the coast of St. Lucia. We're doing this with SLASPA as the main agency that we're dealing with in St. Lucia. So they've been our main stakeholder, and with them and some other government departments, we've come up with a number of priority areas where we're going to conduct the survey work off the west coast. So the priority areas are the Castres, Vieux Fort, Rodney Bay and then Soufriere Bay. We're here measuring